This is the best time to be a trader, and it's mostly due to the current day technology. The future is right now. You have the ability to play more offense. Bionic trading tools can arm you with more opportunities and the ability to manage more positions. Hi, I'm Mike Bellafiore, co-founder of SMB Capital, and we're a proprietary trading firm located in Midtown Manhattan. And I'm also the author of the trading classic, One Good Trade, and the playbook. In this video, see a Bionic junior trader on our desk in step-by-step detail review a multiple time frame technical trade aided by technology. Let's get to work on sharing these important trading lessons so you can grow your trading account.
So this is a daily flag setup. It's breaking out on the daily in the airline sector, and it's also setting up on this given day across multiple time frames on AAL on 12/3/2020. So I came into the day with a few scenarios that could possibly take place, and I was speaking with one of my mentors at the firm in the morning. And the first one was, buying the flag from pre-market levels. And that was going to be a 15-minute bull flag with 40% of my daily stop. It did kind of take place right at the open. I just didn't really like it. It took place a little bit too quickly. I didn't like the tape, and I just wasn't really comfortable with it. I didn't think the risk to reward that was that great. So I actually skipped that.
How much time is that? How much time has gone by in the day, Kyle?
It was right at the open, seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that's a reason to pass, right? Not enough time?
Yeah, certainly. I'm really still getting more comfortable with right at the open, kind of these opening pushes. I don't think I'm there yet.
Perfectly acceptable to say, I don't see the flag yet because not enough time has gone by.
Yeah. The second scenario was buying a washout into this $15 level. If it started to hold, build some higher lows, and have a flag break for a daily flag setup, I'd take that with 20% of my daily stop. That's what I take my daily flag setups with. That did not happen as well. So both of my scenarios really didn't take place. What ended up happening is we got this opening push. Again, I wasn't a participant. It was right at the open. And then we kind of pulled back in. We started to tighten up. This is a 5-minute time frame. Tighten up, build some higher lows, and then we broke out of this flag, and this is what we're going to go over. This is what I ended up taking. So often I'll back test, my number one or number two ideas coming into the day in pre-market hours. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. It maybe takes 10 minutes at most. And, coming into the week, airlines were certainly setting up for what I like to see on the daily. They were consolidating, they were building some higher lows, and they were starting to break out. So I ended up back testing AAL. I thought that was going to be the one that possibly set up for me. I back tested UAL, but I was open to any airline setting up. I just happened to run the back test on UAL. It was a little bit more liquid in pre-market, but the back test was for greater than or equal to 200,000 shares in pre-market volume, gapping up greater than or equal to 2%. They were both doing that. They both had very similar stats. And 74% of the time it breaks pre-market highs when these parameters are met, and it runs about $1.50 higher from pre-market highs. So that can kind of give me a good idea on the possible bias, especially if we break pre-market highs, and maybe how far some of these names can run. It could give me a good target as well.
Is there a way to determine by what time it would break the pre-market high?
Yeah, I can do that as well. And I do that from time to time, and I should do that more. I might actually have it here. Yeah, I have volume of high of day here, but I can also include when it actually breaks pre-market high.
Yeah, I think that would help you control your risk or manage your risk better if you knew that. Okay, good. Good idea by me.
100%.
Patting myself on the back.
I like that idea.
Good job, Ella. All right, thanks.
So the overall market, SPY was at 368, VIX was reading 21. And what I felt like the market was most concerned about at this given time was Pfizer was running into some problems with its vaccine and its supply, getting the vaccine out. It was pushed back a little bit. But with that said, airlines, you can see the airline ETF right here down below. It was breaking out. And what we do is, we follow price action. And even though there was some, somewhat bad news in the market, it didn't seem like the market was really reacting to it. Airlines were setting up and they were breaking out on elevated volume.
Have you found that watching some of the other airline stocks is more instructive to you than looking at the ETF and the airlines? I don't know how common it is for people to trade jets as an ETF, whereas I wouldn't say that if you were trading a semiconductor and you're looking at SMH.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty illiquid ETF, so I was definitely keeping a closer eye on like UAL and Delta. I rather look at the individual names, like you said.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, good.
American Airlines, some of the news that was in the airline sector was, they were restoring the Boeing MAX fleet. Some people see this as good news. I don't know about that. The reopening basket, especially airlines, has been breaking out.
That depends entirely on whether or not the plane crashes or not.
Yeah, 100%.
If the plane crashes, that's bad.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Boeing MAX at the given time. So this reopening basket that I've been keeping an eye on, airlines especially, it's been breaking out on the daily after some nice consolidation and confirming support. This is my A plus when something's breaking out on the daily and it's setting up on that given day. This is what I really look for. This is, kind of what I'm molding my career off of, at least for now.
If you want to learn 3 more real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders, and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That will open up the free registration page in a new window, so don't worry, you won't lose this video. You can also visit tradingworkshop.com to register for this free intensive workshop. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
So some of the other airlines, we have Spirit, we have Delta, we have UAL. You can see the dailies, they were all breaking out. Again, this is a type of action that I'm looking for. It's getting ready to set up from the prior week. So I'm coming into the day already, stocking these names. And one thing I'm starting to think about is how I can get involved in all of them, how I can take a basket going forward. We have a lot of tech that we're able to use. It's more so about how I can actually handle the risk accordingly and properly. That's something that I certainly have to work out. So the stats on AAL, the daily volume was 67 million. Orville at the time was 3.3, certainly in play, especially for airlines that have been kind of a little bit slower in 2020. ATR 0.76, short float 28%, so relatively high. Some shorts can be getting squeezed, especially as we grind higher. The float 502 million. Institutional ownership 50%. So what that tells me is I want to make sure that something is setting up across multiple time frames, because a lot of these institutions, they're not playing on a 1-minute time frame. They're playing across multiple days, multiple weeks, months, years, from my understanding. So I want to make sure that it looks good on some bigger time frames, like the daily, the hourly, the weekly, monthly, so on and so forth. So here we have AAL. This is the daily. Again, we've kind of already seen this. I've kind of already shown this, but we have this gap up, and then we pull back in for a few days, and then we're gapping up on this given day on elevated volume, and we're kind of breaking out of this flag. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It's only 2 levels, but we are above this 1510 level, some prior resistance. So that's kind of more important to me than anything. Here, this is kind of how I set up things. We have the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, and the hourly. And you can see we get this opening push. I'm not a participant. Some, probably took this 15-20 break, risking off low of day for some momentum type of position. That doesn't, I'm not really comfortable with that, at least as of yet. So I didn't feel like I missed out. I didn't think, it was that great of a position. We then pull back in, we kind of break down, and this can get some shorts involved. Some longs might have stopped out. And then we start to build some higher lows, and you can see we end up breaking out. Because it broke out so early, it wasn't perfect on the 15 minute. And this is actually what caused me to only take it with 20% of my daily stop as opposed to 40%. And that's something I can certainly work on the more experience I get with these names. And it looks good across multiple time frames on the day, and that's what I want to see. So some of the things that were in my favor is there was a playbook setup. There was that daily flag setup and that multiple time frame setup as well on that given day. The reopening basket has been breaking out. It pulled in and held support on the daily. So, other airlines are breaking out. That's, something in my favor, certainly. There's that daily flag setup. There's that 15 minute setup. There's a risk to reward of around 5-1, at least with the targets that I'm, keeping in mind. This is very scalable, down the road. Who knows? Maybe this is something that I'm taking bigger idea with, 100,000 shares plus. If not, at least you're able to do so if you wish to do so.
Yeah, I like your thought right there a lot. I like you thinking big. I love that. Can you think what's bigger next for you? So what is that next step for you? You have to say it out loud, but think about being in that next big size for you that you can handle right now, that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but is still responsible and still keeps you in your guardrails. And go for it. That's how you get to that bigger size. I find, and I'm not saying this is true of you at all, Kyle, but maybe it's true of some of the people that are listening, which is, people say, oh, I want to be a really, really big trader. Well, big traders used to be small traders. Big traders used to be small, very consistent traders. And then they became a little bit bigger, very consistent traders. And then they became a little bit bigger, consistently profitable traders.
Yeah, certainly. I will say that the next step for me on a similar position like this, it's not share size, but it's instead of taking it with 20% of my daily stop, it's taking it with 40% of my daily stop. And, as I continue to progress, that daily stop does get increased. So that is an area of improvement
Yeah. And think about it. I know you're a former high level pitcher. So my son
I don't know
loves
about that.
my son loves baseball. What would you think? And my son is 7.5. What would you think if I said to you, oh yeah, I took my son out and I had him throwing from 60 feet 6 inches, the high school mount? No, we go out and we throw from, the little league mount, and sometimes we even throw from a little bit closer, and then we work our way back up to the little league mount. Not suggesting you're in little league at all, but you want to succeed, you want to win at smaller levels, and then bump up. So good. And I love that you're identifying a trade you can really build your career around.
The final thing is I can get in and out exactly where I want, even as I get bigger down the road. It had a 1 cent spread, plenty of liquidity, exactly what I want to see. So how I handled this is, I took, and I'll show the tape as well, is I took this flag break right here with 20% of my daily stop, risking off this low at, I think it was 15.15. I'll show it in the tape. This is something I should have been taking with 40% of my daily stop as opposed to 20. And if we pulled back into this higher low and, put in a lower high and then broke down, I can cut half and then cut the rest at this, full 1 hour stop. So that's something I can certainly do going forward, but I ended up selling a third into 1570. And then I split my second third into 2 even lots. And then, I just got out the rest, and, certainly area of improvement, especially, thinking bigger idea, not only on this given day, but, it was holding up incredibly well. It pushed away from price exactly like I wanted to see. And it closed near highs. And, a few days later, this was like 1850, 1860. So, something to think about.
All right, comment. So you're in,
Correct.
and we get a move above the high, which is instructive.
Mhm.
We hang out a little bit, and then we make that new high. We make that push to 1580, to 1560, excuse me, just in
Mhm.
front of 1560. When I see that, I see the high, I see the hanging, and then I see the push higher. When I see that, I think to myself, boy, I'd like to be better. I'd like to be bigger. I don't want to be bigger at 1560. But boy, I probably should be bigger. And so I look to where we broke out from, which is, around that 35-cent area. And because it made that good push higher, I'm going to look at the volume. If the volume is really good, I'm going to feel more confident. But I definitely have a trade decision when it pushes up to 1560 to bid in front of where it came from, because I should feel better about it. I want to get in the habit of bidding 36 cents, 37 cents, 41 cents. It depends on the move, it depends on the volume, depends on how good I like the stock. For an airline stock, I'm going to be stingier about wanting to get better prices. If it was a tech stock, I wouldn't be as stingy because there's more reward for it. But the airlines don't trade as cleanly, just like the pot names don't trade as cleanly.
Certainly.
All you need to do is look at CGC today and know what I'm talking about. But just certain stocks just don't trade it cleanly. This is going to trade a little bit cleaner because it's super in play. But I think about that. If you are looking to get better, think about when it's making those new highs and they're impressive. Can you bid in front of where it came from? Maybe you don't get hit, but maybe you do. It's a good best practice to get in the habit of doing that. You will get hit more times than you think.
And then what would you do with risk? Is that separate from the position that I took initially?
It is separate. You're going to have a different stop and a different strategy for that. Then there are multiple ways you can handle that. I'm not gonna tell you there's a best way. There isn't. But yes, you want to have a different target and a different stop for that.
Yeah, that's something I'll certainly work on, and for sure. Okay, so we could get into the tape. It's pretty slow. It's a pretty long position, but I'll kind of show me getting involved in it. And again, these are the positions that I really like, where I can get involved right at that timing point. It should kind of work right away, and then maybe I can take off a piece and cover my risk, and then I'm kind of playing for that bigger move. And if I need to step away to go to the bathroom, I'm not so worried about it, because it's kind of a slow grinder. It's something that fits my personality a lot better. So I'm looking to get involved kind of over this 1535 level. This lower high, I believe a lot of shorts should be stopping out, and some momentum longs will be getting involved. My risk is off 1515. We could kind of just see the tape, big bids and big offers. This offer is starting to get eaten out a bit. And I could probably already be long at this point, So I get long at 1534, risk off 1515, and we start to kind of push. And I could fast forward a little bit, but we're starting to work right away. And I'm thinking, okay, once we get some type of, momentum push through high of day, maybe it sets up and, then we start to see a shift in character. I'm going to be looking to take off 1/3. And I think that pull in where you talk about maybe bidding for some price should be coming up. We might have already passed it. I think at this point is where I can have some bids out to, get hit possibly, like you said, to get a little bit bigger. We had nice volume on this breakout. So that's an area of improvement, certainly. And then, it's kind of just a slow grinder. We pushed to 1560, 1563. And I should be taking off 1/3 here. I take off 1/3 into this push into 1569. And it's just kind of a slow developing play. These are the plays that I really look for. And you can see I have, 1/3 out there and I fill. And then it's kind of just a risk-free position at this point, and I kind of just want to see how far I can take this. And often I'll use something like a longer time frame, like a 15-minute. We put in a lower high on the 15-minute and then break some key support. Often that's my signal where maybe this position needs a rest and it's time to move out of the way. And this is kind of where I end up getting flat. So definitely some improvement in this last third. I kind of got out in front of kind of just a 1-minute breakdown. I should be using a longer time frame, like a 15-minute. That's certainly an area of improvement.
What was the blue line inside of reading the tape? Is that a simple moving average?
Oh yeah, that's a 9 EMA.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I use.
It's something you use for exits?
It's something I use to determine if something is overextended before it needs to set up. Okay, so right here, this blue line is, you can see that it's tucked up underneath on the 1-minute, on the 5-minute, and on the 15-minute. It's a little bit extended on the hourly from where I'm getting involved. It just kind of gives me a good idea of what time frame players are possibly getting involved, and does this need to first reset into something like the 15-minute. And then when I'm actually involved in that position, I will use it across multiple time frames. If we put in a lower high, let's say on the 15-minute, and then break down, that's kind of a cue to maybe move out of the way. So that's kind of how I use a 9 EMA. I don't really overvalue it. It's just an indicator that kind of helps me out. Something I can do better down the road is I can think of ways to position myself in a basket, even if that's only 2 names. I could have taken UAL and AAL. That I could have been, 20% bigger just by doing so. I don't need to be in, all of them. That might be a little bit overwhelming for me at this current time, but maybe taking one more, especially when they're both setting up really the same exact way, and airlines are breaking out. And I can also think of ways to possibly take a bigger idea on this, maybe in a swing account down the road. But that's something I'm going to work on down the road. The main area of improvement is on that last third. I should have been holding for, when the 15-minute gave out, instead of something so small like the 1-minute. When that 1-minute put in a lower high and then broke down, that's when I ended up moving out of the way completely on this position.
It just strikes me as, if I ask you, what is the defining variable as to why this trade worked, what would you say it was?
I would say that these airlines were all in play because of the news of Boeing, the Boeing Max coming back out, and that they were all breaking out on the daily.
Okay, and I'm sure you're going to do this, but for those watching, can we go back to that chart? And and hitting home this point to you for your playbook, that's something that you want to be remembering. This was a really good trade. Let's remember how the daily charts of the other names in the sector were all lining up. Look at how those daily charts are lining up, and look how well I did when they were starting to break out together at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, in the last couple months, airlines, this has been the cleanest setup across a sector that I've really seen for my current playbook. So this is something I'm certainly looking for, when the next sector wants to go off a little bit.
Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comments section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at SMB, train and trade well.